Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Live. I have Eric Coley, CEO of Indigo Protocol, and Dewayne Cameron, CIO of Indigo Protocol, here today with Cardano Live to tell us about their protocol. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on Cardano Live today. Glad to have you here. How are you doing today, Eric, DC?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I think I'm still bandaging some wounds from the bloodbath that this morning has been, but I'm doing well. So.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, there's a lot of red today, so I'm sure the viewers will be glad to hear some good news. And thank you, DC, for returning to Cardano Live from the previous when you were here. You were here with us on episode number 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about Indigo Protocol. What is it?
Yeah, happy to. So, we're a synthetics DeFi protocol built on Cardano, building on Cardano, should I say, for on-chain price exposure to real-world assets. And I think, the real essence of what we want to do is give anyone, anywhere, anytime access to the world's financial tools. I think, there's upwards of billions of people who otherwise wouldn't have access to certain stocks, certain commodities, things of that nature. So we're going to create a synthetic version of them with our protocol and give it to everyone.
All right, cool. And I would like to remind viewers that I have links down in the description below. You can check them out down there. There's a link to the Indigo Protocol website. There's a link to their Discord where you can get more information there as well. There's links to the Liquid Twitter, Eric's Twitter, and DC's Twitter. So check those out. Give those guys a follow over there on Twitter. And while you're down there, go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button. Share these videos with your friends, because at Cardano Live, we're bringing you high quality content where people can learn a lot about Cardano. So going back to the Indigo Protocol and what you guys are working on. So the current status is you've started building a team. You have a really nice looking website over there. And you're kind of building on the private test net at this point. And I understand DC's explained this to me before with the Liquid Protocol series episode. There's only so much you can say about the private test net because it's under construction. So how are things going up to this point? Can you tell us a little bit about what's under construction and where you're at with the team, the people, and the work? So what you got going on?
The developers are actually getting after it on the almost near public version of the testnet. So the contract that we're running in Plutus right now, the version of PAB that we're running, Plutus application backend, these are the things that have been released to date. So everyone has access to these tools right now. And the contracts that are being built can almost run on the public testnet as soon as that's released. As soon as everyone has access to that, you can connect to Cardano testnet wallets and actually start using some of these contracts. I don't think that we're that far away from that happening, which is great. I think we're on pace with the IOHK developments. By the end of the month, hopefully we're hearing at least a hard date on when that public testnet is going to be released to everyone. But the real, essence of Indigo is saying for the first time, any Cardano user can have access to synthetic assets, whether it's a, ETF, equity, whether it's another crypto like Bitcoin or ETH or anything else. So there's so many different options out there for things that you can package up and allow traders in different markets that traditionally haven't had exposure to some of these assets. If I'm living outside of the US and I want exposure to the price of Amazon or Apple, it's much harder for me than if I'm living, obviously in the country and I have access to these things and I can buy them in fractional shares on a place like Robinhood. These things don't exist outside of America. In the same way, if you're an American and you want access to Chinese stocks or equities, it's equally as difficult to get into those markets. So I think that Indigo is a protocol that's basically using a set of Cardano smart contracts and a constant Oracle feeding mechanism to say, we can track the price of these assets. We can use some, trusted source to source the price, whether it's a Wolfram Alpha type of integration into the Oracle price feeder or some other mechanism to say, okay, these are 24/7 live markets that essentially never close. And you can always have some price exposure to any of these assets. You can list them on DEXs. Become a liquidity provider there. There's yield that you can get from just holding these assets, whether you're the minter and the actual owner of the CDP, whether you're the trader of the actual minted asset themselves via a DEX or some other mechanism. And all of those can carry some different trading strategies and risk, tied to them. And that's kind of the essence of this composable DeFi stack that Eric is mentioning. Like building on Cardano is saying there's going to be a ton of DEXs, there's going to be a ton of borrow lending, there's going to be insurance, there's going to be DeFi for asset management, and all these second order and secondary product offerings that come with these things. But Indigo is trying to be at the base stack a synthetic asset protocol for minting a general layer of, equities, commodities, ETFs, you name it, assets that we want to see on the blockchain. And we can connect just a simple API connection that's robust and secure and scalable enough to give us a constant price feed for that. And our smart contracts on chain can kind of, in many ways, automate in a very decentralized manner the rest of this entire logic, essentially.
Yeah, very exciting too. I mean, because synthetics. I'm sure a lot of us in the Cardano ecosystem saw an image last week of the known projects, at least the recognized projects, building in the Cardano ecosystem, and sure enough, Indigo right there. So far, that's been public to a certain degree, is the only synthetics protocol within an already niche DeFi vertical of the blockchain space. So it's very, very exciting for us.
And yeah, I did see that graphic, really cool. And I was curious about it. What is the difference between a synthetic protocol, as in, so there's native assets, which are coins like space coins, HOSC. They're native assets that sit on the blockchain. Mm-hmm. There's DeFi protocols. Where does a synthetic protocol and where does Indigo sit in reference to those? What is a synthetic protocol?
Sure. Yeah. So synthetic meaning you're using some mechanism like a smart contract and locking some funds like a stable coin on Cardano to basically mint a new asset that's in many ways a mirror of like a stock or an equity or an ETF, right? So that it's synthetic because it's not actually the Apple stock or not actually the Amazon stock, but because we're using our Oracle price feed in a way and you're entering into a collateralized debt position, essentially you've locked 150% of the loan to value amount in a contract that says, okay, because DC has locked this amount and he's keeping above the minimum collateral ratio, he can have exposure to the price of Amazon. And actually, as that stock moves up and down, so too will his, M or I asset that he's minted in this protocol. So that's kind of the essence of like a synthetic system. These things are live today on places like FTX, and even Binance has like synthetic asset offerings. They're just done in a centralized, fully custodian manner where you can't actually transfer these tokens off those platforms. You're kind of like almost gridlocked into using their system and theirs only. It's okay for, what traders want exposure to today, and there's massive markets built out around this. But we can offer something more because we're building on the Cardano blockchain, and we have this, ability to, in a single transaction, mint new native assets, burn native assets, do really kind of complex things in terms of the managing of the CDP itself and the actual I asset that gets minted for each of these different equities or, ETFs or commodities, essentially. So that's kind of how the synthetic plays into this. It's a little different than just saying, okay, I have these native assets, I can put them on a DEX and swap them. Right. Now you can take the synthetic assets that you mint on Indigo, you can take these iApple, iAmazon, and then become a liquidity provider on a DEX and then earn fees that way. So I can say, okay, I've minted a position, essentially I'm going short whatever the price direction of this asset is. So now I'm going to list it on this DEX. I'm going to earn fees based on that, based on just the trading of, my stable coin versus my I asset that I've minted. I can take those LP tokens and actually stake them on Indigo, and that's how you can earn the Indy governance token. And there's a whole incentive mechanism built around the earning and the actual governance module itself. So that's its own beast that will definitely, write many Medium articles and share videos and demos with before those come out. But really what we're saying is there's 4 different key users of a protocol like Indigo. There's a minter, there's a trader, there's a staker, and there's a liquidity provider. And each of them are playing like kind of key value roles in the entire ecosystem to kind of make the entire, protocol scale, because you're saying at a certain point, the person who's minting and owning the CDP is not the same person who's providing liquidity on the DEX. And they might not even be the same person who's staking the LP token for that DEX, right? So there's many different players in this kind of holistic DeFi protocol that we're building, but the way it's built is so composable that anyone else can build a secondary product offering on top of it and go even deeper into doing things like, exotic ETFs and, putting other crazy assets onto the blockchain that we wouldn't even think of as like our general base layer. So yeah, it's really kind of a synthetic protocol, but in many ways it's a general protocol that can be built on top of. that can have composable secondary offerings that, we have nothing to do with, but essentially just using our APIs, the SDKs that we'll produce with this, you can build product offerings on top of.
Well, and another question that we get, one of the exciting things is look at what's happened, adding additional assets, right? And part of our governance protocol will be to vote on new assets to add to the protocol that traders can trade or mint, right? So one of the things you've seen lately is the increase in lumber prices, for example. So perhaps we consider lumber as an I asset as well. So those are some of the exciting developments that we can look towards in the future and take our community feedback to enhance our protocol. So,
wow, that's amazing. And DC, I got to tell you, I've learned more about DeFi and finance from you than anything else I've ever read or seen on social media. So thank you for that. And Eric, at the same time, I gotta give you a shout out, bro. When I threw a challenge on Twitter in order to keep people alert to scams, I threw a challenge out there and said, hey, here's a bunch of questions that every person should be asking, and every project should be answering in advance, like to prevent it from even being asked. And I threw out a huge bunch of questions. And Eric, you were the first one to step up. Eric is a former Marine, by the way, and now CEO of Indigo. Thank you for your service, Marine. Hoorah.
You're welcome. Double dog. All right. Hoorah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And you stepped up to the challenge out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa, that's awesome. This is a man leading by example. So let's ask the toughest question first.
Sure.
Is Indigo a security, or is it not a security? And if it is it a registered security or unregistered security? What can you tell us about that, sir?
Great question, fair question. Happy to answer it too. So we are Indy token is a governance token. It is not a security. We've been very careful and methodical in our early stage development, not only with the protocol, but with how we're structured as a company to ensure that we are represented by the best and brightest legal. And so we're very, very careful. For one of the reasons why we're not doing an ICO, we get the question all the time, pre-sale. Well, there's still some gray area around how ICOs have historically been handled and looked at with regulatory oversight. So we are very specifically launching a governance token. Indy is a governance token, not a security.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. And I'm glad you clarified that. And I'm glad you're being methodical and thorough, because there have been major main chain coins getting in trouble in the past.
Absolutely.
It's for the U.S. The SEC applies to the United States. So there are people in other countries that can do things maybe legal, maybe not illegal, maybe illegal, maybe not legal, whatever. But the key is we want to prevent the scammers from showing up. You can't prevent them. It's impossible to prevent it. Yeah. But you can at least get the users aware so that they can make a good assessment themselves and apply due diligence. And it appears that you are applying due diligence. For example, who's behind the project? Do you have a solid team? Have you assessed the risk and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Do you want me to go through a few of those questions? I can go down the list.
Absolutely.
And I know, because Eric said,
and that's why we're here. I think my response on Twitter was we can answer every one of them confidently and honestly. So that's the purpose of these interviews. So as to build trust with the community. So feel free, fire away.
Yeah, and Rick, thank you for your service as well, sir.
Likewise. Absolutely.
Absolutely. My brother was in the Navy. I come from a military family, so I definitely have much respect for anyone who served. This country or other. So I also want to say about, finance. I learned something new about the way the inner traditional financial system works every day. I'm going deep into like the Greeks to learn more about options trading and things that aren't really even related to kind of what we're doing here with Indigo, what I'm working on with Liquid. These are kind of flavors of collateralized debt position protocols, but still there's so much that you can kind of like every day take out of what they're doing in the traditional markets and what's kind of been like ossified in many ways as like that concrete system and what we're trying to rebuild in DeFi and what we can do on Cardano. So yeah, there's so much that's going to come in the space. I see really exciting things happening with different teams in Plutus. And I agree. There's definitely straight up scams that are out there, just like on Ethereum, right? Just like on any public blockchain that has the opportunity for folks to come in and try to actually scam people outright. But these things are going to become a lot harder when you have a public Plutus testnet that anyone can test your smart contracts, look at your code before it ever actually sees the light of mainnet. And, that will happen, and that will weed out a lot of the wheat from the chaff pretty quickly. So I'm not so concerned right now. I mean, I do hate to see whatever, some people just kind of aping into things that they have no idea what it is, but you have to let people make their own decisions. At the end of the day, this is decentralized stuff. So I even myself, I'm never gonna push back on a team who's building on Cardano, whether it's directly on Plutus, which I think is what everyone should be doing, or whether it's some bridge mechanism from Ethereum to get liquidity and then come to Plutus later. Everyone has their own way, and everyone, either is going to make it or not. But I think in a couple months on Plutus mainnet, it'll be very clear who these early kind of teams that were seriously building, and who some of the other teams who we thought might have been building maybe, but not really kind of were. So I'm not too concerned about that right now.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, with regards to the scam projects, we all know they're going to be there, right? But I want to caution the community not to call out every single project a scam simply because they might not understand it. If there's a team that's out there obviously not doing things the right way and on the up and up, sure, I think that's safe to go ahead and have some speculation or some caution about them. But we need to support this ecosystem and this community in order for us to all survive and coexist. And you'll see a lot of that in our messaging on Twitter too. So we're here to support every project and protocol on Cardano, but of course, be careful. But let's not call every single thing a scam. If a project is in a development phase or a research phase and simply doesn't have the answer and says you need to hold off for a little while and we'll get you the right answer rather than just lie to you right now. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, perfect message, Eric. We don't want to scare developers off, but we do want to hold them to a higher standard than what has been done in the past, because we've learned our lessons from what had happened on Ethereum. We learned our lessons. Moving forward with Cardano, we don't want people to get formally verified wrecked. We want them to have formally verified, high quality products to use, which is what is being built, which is in progress. All right. Thank you, Eric. Okay, we'll get to some of the viewers' questions that are showing up in the chat. I'll touch on those later. I'll just go right down the list. In which country is your business registered?
We're in the U.S. We're a United States business.
Okay, and what is the name of the CEO or lead on your team? Obviously,
Eric Coley.
Eric Coley. In which country is the CEO located?
In the United States. I'm here specifically in Austin, Texas. For those of you who have already followed me on Twitter or maybe looked me up on Instagram, I'm not hard to find. I'm not trying to hide. So I'm here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and along with Nico's down your way, so you can meet up with Nico.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to connect.
All right, if the rug gets pulled, who goes to jail?
You're looking at him.
There you go. That's accountability right there. That's been the key. Is if you want mass adoption of crypto, accountability is the key. You can't have these ghost rug pulls, right? And otherwise, no mass adoption for anybody. All right. So well done, Eric. Thank you, sir. That was another one of those tough questions. Is this offer too good to be true? Well, we're
building it right now. Yeah, it's in development. I mean, so is any smart contract DeFi protocol too good to be true? It depends on what your level of security, what your level of risk tolerance. Are you the end user who actually needs to or should be using this and can manage the risk within this thing? Because there's very real risk that exists in any of these DeFi systems. So I don't know. Whenever I see questions like that, it's yes, we're going to build the protocol as secure as possible. We have developers who focus on nothing but testing and QA and making sure continuous improvement is integrated into all of the processes, right? So we have security auditors already lined up. We talked about Manuel Chakravarti and his awesome team at Twig, and we're going to work with them to make sure all of the Plutus smart contracts are audited before they ever see the light of mainnet. And as it comes to reviewing the contracts, there's abilities in Plutus that are going to let anyone just using a simplified version of PAB essentially to simulate all of the contract outputs to whatever input they actually provide or whatever they actually deposit into the contract essentially. So you'll know at what ratio you're going to get or can get liquidated. You'll know at what position you're very safe in the system, when you need to either add collateral or when you need to basically pay off a part of your CDP. You'll know exactly how to manage the system once you're actually using it on a public testnet, once you've connected some Cardano testnet wallet and are actually functioning in the application itself. So, I mean, you as the user, you get to beta test these things before they ever see the light of day. So that's like the beauty of actually building at this stage in Cardano. You get to tell us what's good, what's bad, and what needs to be fixed, right? So that's like part of being a community-led and driven project.
And not just that, but it's also, I think, important to let everyone know that, having an external third-party audit is not a hypothetical. We have an agreement already executed with Twig, and we're aiming for that security audit for a fully functional protocol to be done in July. So some projects might want to handle their own security assessments internally. We absolutely believe in having a third-party eyes and ears on things, and our devs are thrilled to work with them, because I think the best and brightest devs are some that we have, and they want to know and have their faults exposed or failures within the protocol anywhere. So they're anxious to work with Twig, and so are we. So it's important that everyone understands, that that's not a hypothetical for us. That's a sure thing.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing, Eric. Thank you for that. Because between what you and DC just said, you pretty much answered questions 15 through 21. So we don't have to sit here and go through the entire list. Okay. Right. You guys just covered it. There's risk. Each person, let's say I'm a buyer holder and I want to participate in your protocol. I have to do my own risk assessment and say, okay, where are these guys at? They are in the private testnet stage. They are under construction. What is the level of risk? Pretty high. What about, that's for the, protocol and the value of the coin. Then you say, what is the level of risk with the team? What is the level of risk with the technology? What is the level of risk with the value proposition and stuff like that? And, I look at the level of risk with the team and I say, well, you have a well-known team. You have a lot of experts on your website. You're working out the legal matters. You're working through the financial matters. Okay. So the risk to me is medium. There's always risk. Life is a risk. There's always risk.
That's fair.
Right. But I'm starting to get a warm fuzzy. Me personally, I'm like, I'm starting to get a warm fuzzy about this team. Okay. Yeah. And of course, once you guys launch for your Project Catalyst Fund 6, right, and I'll see even more information coming out on there. So let's we're good to go on all the questions on the list there. Tell us about the Project Catalyst. How does that aspect come into play, and what are you doing with that?
I'll take that one. So, it's really we believe in the Catalyst ecosystem. I think Liquid, obviously with Dewayne, and they've had some great success, and we want to get our brand in front of the entire Catalyst ecosystem and community, and really give them all the information that they are asking for already. I think it's great exposure opportunity. And that community to look at our paperwork, look at our protocol, and tell us and give us feedback is something that we welcome. So there's a lot of bright minds in the Catalyst community. So I think it could be a benefit for us. So Dewayne, if you wanted to expand, feel free.
Yeah, it's a massive networking opportunity of like Cardano bright minds and just, thinkers and builders in the space that you're not going to really find anywhere else. I think the stake pro operators are one exemplary, really just awesome group of operators within the community who are technical in nature and are always willing to go out of their way. But outside of that, talking about, content producers, developers, folks who can help you on the marketing side, folks who can actually help you on the kind of financial and, maths behind your protocol, things running in the back end. Those all exist in the Catalyst community already today. And it's kind of like, in many ways, we built up a body of knowledge with these stake pro operators since the ITN. This Voltaire ITN is essentially building up a body of knowledge of just Cardano builders, thinkers, and, folks who are analysts and can really work with teams and add value to the whole, idea and value proposition that you're trying to build your product in. So with Indigo, we have a pretty clear vision of what the product market fit for things like synthetic assets are. We see how they've taken off in a centralized way on Binance and FTX. We know that a decentralized version of them is going to be attractive when you look at synthetics, when you look at some of the things building on Polkadot, Mirror, on Terra. There's definitely many successful examples of building a synthetic asset protocol in a decentralized way that really scales and can handle billions of dollars. And I think that building a system like that on Cardano with the low cost, the deterministic fee schedule, like these things are going to make the system run so much more efficiently than even anything that you've seen kind of built on Ethereum to date, probably by an order of magnitude or more. So it's actually a really attractive, even more value proposition to build this now in Cardano. And I think that, yeah, there's certainly, like you said, risk. Like, Rick, you're trying to assess the entire team. You're trying to assess, the ability to push this thing to a public test net, get through the iterations, and then get to mainnet. But realize that, like, we're not doing some like sort of sale of the governance token. Like, this is something that users who are actually engaged in the system as stakers in our system are going to earn the token through and via. You're not going to go to a DEX and just purchase, or you can if you want to, but the users who are actually earning this at scale aren't going to be buying it on a DEX. They're actually going to be using the system to provide liquidity, and then take that to a DEX, mint that DEX LP token, and then stake that in our system. So it's kind of a 1-2 process step, and we've given ourselves some time, and I'm sure we'll come out with the token allocation and some more of our technical documentation on this soon. But the schedule that we've actually committed to internally is such that it allows us to see what the top DEX on Cardano will be, what the top algo stablecoin on Cardano will be, months out from now, before we have to commit to building direct integrations into those. So we're in many ways like, we're going to build a V1 of this protocol, but we're going to allow the system to kind of scale as the Cardano DeFi ecosystem, scales itself. And I think it's a really sound and just well thought out model for trying to implement the first version of the system.
Yeah, I like your methodical approach. It's an iterative approach, and it's an interactive approach with the community, and it's not a code fast and break things approach. That's what I'm hearing. Is that a good summary?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Got a warm fuzzy, guys. Got a warm fuzzy.
Good. I hope so.
Sounds good. All right. So I do have, if there's anything else you want to touch on, I do have some viewer questions. Some of them are for me, but some of them. So Ricky Ricardo, I'll take the first question. Ricky Ricardo asks, can you invite the team behind Sunday Swap next? I'll invite them on. I threw an offer out on Twitter, but I wasn't direct, so I'll ask them to come on. They were on Big Pay's channel, so go check out Big Pay's channel. He had Sunday Swap on, and they are more than welcome to come on Cardano Live, especially after they have some more developments and more updates since their interview with Big Pay last week. So you can check out his channel for that. And thank you to all the YouTubers out there who are getting developers on your channels. You're doing a great service to the community on helping the developers get the message out and help people make informed decisions. It's really great that the Cardano YouTubers are doing stuff like that. Much appreciated. Let's see. So there's a few questions. There's a question maybe more so for DC. This one's kind of tough. I don't mean to drop this bomb on you, DC, but LJD asks, where is Liquid's funding coming from besides Project Catalyst, and same for Indigo?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we bootstrapped Liquid, starting last summer up to the point of Fund 2 funding just by ourselves, with my own capital. We have a team of developers now that we're funding with Catalyst funding since essentially the start of Fund 2. And we've been diligent with our funds. The market's been good to us for the most part, and we just keep rocking. That's how we fund ourselves.
Yeah, and with regards to Indigo, we're fully self-funded as well. We have accepted no VC money. I probably get 1 or 2 different inquiries every day with folks that want to be early investors. And while I appreciate that, my message to them and to the community is that, we want to prove ourselves first. We can go run after any sort of VC money now that we don't need, frankly. But we make a better business case for a better investment team, VC venture capitalist firm that is, to gain more funding too if we were to need it for the long haul whenever we prove our product through a V1 launch. So that's really our plan, is to entertain the right firms, the right money at the right time. So up until V1 and even beyond that, we're fully self-funded and capitalized.
Well, I admire your approach. Prove yourselves first and then step forward from there. Bingo. All right. Thank you. Awesome. There was a question. This isn't for anyone in particular, from Enoch Sosh. He says, anyone heard anything regarding Marlowe? Is it still a product for Cardano? The answer is yes, it is. There's a Marlowe playground. Currently, Plutus Playground. Do you guys know if the Marlowe? I know the Blockly is available for people to use. That's pretty much the current status, right? If people want to use Marlowe, go play with Blockly on the Marlowe Playground, pretty much. And I think what will happen is right after Plutus launches on mainnet, you'll see the Marlowe related tools also appearing on mainnet. I do not know the schedule. I can't speak to it. But thank you for the question, Enoch. Much appreciated. I hope that helps. Later in the summer, most likely. Let's see. The question here, Eric already answered this, but Ada Planet, thank you for your question as well. How and when we'll be able to participate in Indigo? Eric, do you want to follow up on that? It's going to be sometime in the future, but we don't know when really.
Yeah, we're aiming to launch as soon as Alonzo hard fork comes to fruition. So we're building in lockstep with what IOHK gives us with regards to Plutus to build. So as soon as they're ready, we're ready, and we'll let everybody know how we launch. So until then, no ICO or pre-sale. So that'll inevitably be a question we continue to answer as we proceed forward, but that's certainly fine. We'll keep answering it. So, but that is our status.
Okay. And their Discord channel is a link down below. So if you want to talk to some folks in Liquid, talk to some of the community members who are participating already, check out the Discord channel link down below. Thank you, Eric. And thank you, Ada Planet. And Miran Modak asks, how do you know that after the audit of smart contracts are completely safe? This is a difficult question. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to even the most thorough smart contract audits are probably not going to uncover every single thing in that protocol and system. But what you do have to realize, and I was, just reading an audit of a different synthetic asset protocol, they put your high level kind of most severe bugs and things that are actually going to potentially cause financial loss in the system are the ones that these hackers at these auditing firms are looking out for the most, right? So in Plutus and in Haskell, really, it's built in a way that is much more functional and secure for the type of math functions that we're transforming into software, essentially, in our protocol. And we're also working with a company like Twig, who themselves architected the Plutus platform to do things like DeFi systems at scale to audit this system before we hit mainnet. So we couldn't be, choosing really, in my opinion, at least a better firm. There's a few Haskell development software firms that really handle security audits at this scale and just are Haskell experts in their space, right? And I think that Twig is definitely one of them and very capable. So we're going to have a system as well audited and tested as possible before those contracts ever see mainnet. We can't, guarantee everything, and there's a privacy policy that we're having our securities attorney and lawyers take an eye and really review hard, because listen, any of these smart contracts come with a level of risk, and protocol security is at the top of them. Making sure the system is built in a secure way and tested and audited in a very thorough manner is obviously at the top of mitigating that risk. But that risk is never 100%, mitigated. And I don't know anyone who could say that it is, even after a security audit.
Yeah, good point.
Okay. I like how you explained that. Me personally, I put risk into, I use these three numbers. Is it below 50% probability of success? Is it above a 50% probability of success? And then 75 and 90%. But I'll never go above 90%. I don't care who writes the code or how well it's written. There's always some probability of risk that that the contract, something could go wrong, right? So it's good to be aware of. Thank you for that question, Miran. I appreciate the viewer questions. We have one more and we will wrap it up. Let's see. Oops, sorry, I got to take this one off.
While you're pulling that up, the beauty of Cardano smart contracts and the input-output model is that you can simulate and test these things as an end user with a wallet before you actually ever deposit into that contract. So you'll know exactly for every single input that you could possibly, input into the contract that will be accepted. You'll know the exact output that the contract can produce, and under different states, what can happen. And there's, like I said, a reason that Cardano went this extended UTXO functional Haskell model instead of just implementing like another Solidity EVM account style system, like what, essentially every other third gen blockchain are doing. So yeah.
Nice. Thank you, DC, for expanding on that. And the last question here, and we'll wrap it up for the days, from Robert. And he asks, great question to wrap it up on, he's got a picture of a fish, kind of like Eric's picture of the shark over on.
Yeah, that's a bull red. I know that one, Robert. Nice fish. Nice catch.
You know that fish. It's a bull
sure
red.
do. It's a bull red.
Good question.
Is there
Go
ahead.
No, I'd love to answer this question. So yeah, I mean, there's a few out there on different chains. I think we resemble Synthetics a lot on Ethereum, Mirror as well. But one of the things that these projects aren't doing that I think we will consider for novel version 2 and beyond, it would be a unique play of having our own Oracle functionality. It's a critical component to ensuring off-chain price is match real time with on-chain price for certain assets. So something that I think we've started to consider, at least myself and Dewayne, is perhaps having our own built within our protocol Oracle functionality. So something that would set ourselves apart for sure.
Awesome.
Also,
thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would just add, potentially adding in Atala Prism is something that you get just building on Cardano, that is going to allow any of the traders, any of the CDP owners to basically build real DeFi data that they can take and use off chain in any way in a real banking or financial situation, and have that data attested to and owned in a private way. So there's just wins that you get just building on Cardano itself natively that are all about the products like Atala Prism and things that you can integrate into your existing system that you don't get on other blockchains.
Yeah, great point.
Wow, it's exciting. I don't care if the market's red today. Who cares? Look at where we're going to be in a couple of months. Look where we are now. Oh my gosh. Shelley works, best proof of stake protocol on planet Earth. Uses less than 1% power than Bitcoin. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, right. So it's being done right, which leads us to our very last comment here. Not a question from Steve. And that was, we waited this long. Let's do it right. You got that right, Steve. You got that right.
Absolutely.
Robert, I would like to thank you, Robert, for that question. I much appreciate the viewers' inputs here. Steve, we're going for number 1 all day, every day, buddy. All day, every day. And Eric and DC and their team of many people are some of the people who are helping us go for number 1. All right, gentlemen, I'll give you the last word. We'll wrap it up for the day. Eric, any parting words for the viewers here, sir?
Yeah, hang tight. We're building. We're doing things, like I said, methodically and precisely, so as to give you all the best product possible. So, but we'll answer any questions along the way in any of our social media platforms. So Twitter, Discord, etc. And follow our roadmap.
Thank you, Eric. DC.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys. A lot in the pipeline. The developers are definitely building, and they're getting closer and more comfortable with Plutus by the day. So all good things to come.
You know what? Let me expand one last thing. We will actually, kind of exciting, we've been waiting for this. We are going to be releasing a demo today of our UI, and it's actually going to be accompanied with the actual PAB functionality. So not just a simulated demo of a slick UI, but actually with the actual PAB itself. So that's exciting. We'll be releasing that. So.
That is fantastic. I will make sure I get that demo linked down below in the description when it comes out later today, and we'll get some promo out on that so people can build confidence or make a better risk assessment of what they're looking at when it comes to Indigo. Yep. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here on Cardano Live, and feel free to come back when you have updates in the future, in the coming months, as developments continue. You're always welcome to come back over to Cardano Live and give folks an update. Sound good?
Sounds good. Happy to. Thanks, Rick.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.